distracting sound. My name is Christine Harrell. My badge is blue because I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, elected to serve you, the congregation of this church. I invite you to enjoy the chapel in the back of the sanctuary and note your joys and concerns in the book there. If you have little ones with you today, we have nursery downstairs if you're interested. And after our service, I invite everyone downstairs to enjoy hospitality and greet one another. And I believe in our announcements there is mention of a potluck event today. Finally, please note the announcements, as I said, in your order of service. There's many ways to become engaged in our community in addition to coming to today's service. Come, come, whoever you are. You are welcome here, no matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin. You are welcome here. No matter whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You're welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears. You are welcome here. If you come here with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, you are welcome here.
3 diverse candles over here. I'm really grateful to Travis, Trista, and Tom for agreeing to tell us about themselves. They will share what they discovered or learned by involving themselves at South Valley. This promises to bring insight into what South Valley did and does for them. Perhaps you will gain a better vision of what South Valley can do for you.
Hi, everybody. Wondering if I was picked because my first name began with a T. Okay. So I was asked to share what I've learned by involving myself here at South Valley. First, I'd like to just share a little bit about my background as far as my path to South Valley. I was raised in the Episcopal Church in Long Island, New York, and it was a very strong influence in our family. My parents met in the church choir, and later on my father led the folk choir at the Episcopal Church, and it was guitars and drums and tambourines, so it was kind of pretty cool back then. Church gave me a strong sense of community. My family and some of my friends were all members, and also my uncle was an Episcopal minister. And although I spent all of my Sundays at church, I don't remember ever really connecting to anything spiritually. From Sunday school to my confirmation, I never related to the God of the Scriptures. It was just background noise as a kid, you know. My school friends were of all different faiths: Judaism, Catholicism, all the Protestant denominations. And I remember sharing the feeling with my friends that religion was something our parents just made us do on Sundays. And as life outside the church got more and more interesting, I just, basically lost interest in the church. By the time I was confirmed at age 13, at that point I was allowed to opt out on Sundays, and that's exactly what I did. I never went after I was confirmed. My parents divorced when I was a young teenager, and to cope, I turned to drugs and alcohol. And I'm afraid to say that became part of my story for the next 20 some odd years. Looking back, in some way I realized my substance abuse filled the spiritual void that was left by the church. And during that time I never really thought of things in a spiritual way. I was really driven by self-will and just kind of dumb luck. I kind of just walked through doors as they opened without much of a plan. And that worked pretty well. Well, until it stopped working pretty well. And in 1996, I found myself a full-blown alcoholic with 2 children and a failing marriage. Things really came crashing down right at that point, and to deflect the focus that was on me, I really wanted to show everyone that I could sober up at that point. And I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was really trying to save my marriage, but my marriage failed. But what I did find in AA was not only a way to stay sober, but a way to improve myself and to search for a spirituality that I never had. By working the 12 steps, I was put on a path to explore who I was and what I wanted to become without the drugs and alcohol. What was important to my innermost self? Was there a God? Where was this spiritual way of life that I had been missing? I tried to go back to the Episcopal Church, and although it felt in some ways like going home, the ritual and the reading of the scriptures left me wanting. I made peace with the church of my upbringing and moved on. I found a very liberal Methodist church in Colorado where I married my second wife, and that church was really good. It had a very progressive minister who I really connected with. But when I moved to Utah in 2007, I realized that that church was very unique in its liberal thinking, and the Methodist churches my wife and I visited at that point were completely different than what I had experienced. So, in our quest to find a church, we came to South Valley to check you guys out. What I found was a very welcoming place, and what I found also was a very good fit for my evolving beliefs. After attending for about a month, my wife decided that she wanted to keep looking. And if I had my way, we would have stayed at that point. But we were drifted away from this church and never really found a church to call home. I did, however, make a bunch of friends when I was here. And through music, continued to meet with members of this congregation like once a month to play guitar and sing, and it was a lot of fun. So I had kind of a connection in the background all that time. As some of you know, I went through a particularly difficult divorce in 2011, and I reached out to those friends that I had met in South Valley. I intuitively knew where I needed to go, back to South Valley, back here where the people had been so welcoming. Some Sundays when you'd read that I was welcome here, even if I had tears in my heart, I knew I was in the right place. The book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about a God of your understanding. It talks about one's own conception of a power greater than themselves, and they encourage you not to close your mind on spiritual concepts. My spiritual path has led me here, and I've learned that helping others and being of service is my way of connecting with my higher power. That higher power for me is just simply love. And as it says in our covenant, love is the spirit of this congregation. I now help others who suffer from substance abuse, and my history that seemed at one time to be such a liability has now become an asset. My story can actually help somebody else and potentially save lives. And in that way, I'm uniquely qualified to be of service to those people. I'd just like to end by reading our mission statement. It's on the back of our program. And I just love it. I think it really says it all. It says, we're a community of hope for religious explorers who wish to transform our world into a more just, compassionate, and sustainable place. We embrace diversity and provide opportunities for creativity, spiritual growth, and a celebration of life. So, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Trista, and I too now have my suspicions about why I was asked to do this speech. For 5 years, I was the director of religious education here at South Valley. It was not a job that I had ever imagined myself doing until I found myself doing it. Even when I applied for the job, I never thought I'd get it. Even as I interviewed for the job, I could not see myself actually doing it. Imagine my shock when Susan Izagari called to offer me the position. I thought I'd had everybody fooled. Since I hadn't thought I'd be hired, I had to take a few moments to think about my answer. During my deliberations, I had no idea what an amazing community I was about to enter. Let me tell you a story. The teens are currently raising money to go to General Assembly this summer. The last time they went to General Assembly was when I was still director of religious education. I had been single for apparently a little too long for some people in the congregation. One of the amazing teens I was chaperoning admitted to me that her mom had told her to be sure not to cramp my style. In case while at GA I met a woman I might be interested in. She told me that she'd made plans to sleep in a different room if that were the case. It was both hilarious, the idea that I had any style that my chaperonee might cramp, and incredibly sweet. So sweet, I was actually almost brought to tears. In a state where the dominant religion requires gay people to be celibate in order to be accepted, the idea that a religious community would be so supportive of me, my happiness, and my, at that time, non-existent love life is unique and precious. And while I had been a member of the community at First Church, which is also supportive, there's something I found here at South Valley that I did not find at First Church, which is an expanded opportunity to serve and grow. But back to the decision I was trying to make about joining this community before I knew anybody would be interested in helping my game. Several years ago, I had a friend who was preparing a speech to give before a crowd that was anticipated to be several hundred people strong. I asked her how she had come to be the kind of person that could speak to so many people. And she answered me. When they asked me, I said yes. Such a thing seemed inconceivable to me. That was it? You just said yes? It couldn't possibly be that simple. You see, I am incredibly shy. I am most comfortable talking to a handful of people or less at a time. No. I am most comfortable talking to a handful of people or less all day long. And yet, for several years, during my time as director of religious education here, I became adept at speaking in public. I gave sermons, made announcements, and even sang a cappella entirely alone in front of the congregation. To me, at the time, and in retrospect, this seems mysterious and magical, almost miraculous. And yet it is that simple. When I was asked, I said yes. Over and over, request after request, moment of choice after moment of choice. I worry I'm making it sound like this community is really demanding. It's not. It's just that South Valley is a place where people get asked to do things that they might not ever have thought they would do. It's a place where you get to try on new roles, new responsibilities, and end up with new talents and skills. And because it's a community based on love, each opportunity is a request, a moment of choice. You choose to say yes. You choose to step up. You choose to grow. For me, it's been a place where personal growth has been encouraged, cheered, and celebrated. I have found role models, friends, and people who feel like family.
I've eaten in the kitchen of women I want to be when I grow up. I've had tea with a woman that if I could have chosen as an older sister, I would have. And I've watched children grow up in a community of caring multi-generational ties, turning into teens who are visible, respected, and valued. And these are the reasons why, now that I no longer work here, I keep coming around, even if so far it's been mostly on the edges. I just can't quit you, South Valley. This quirky, hands-on, sometimes raucous community feels like home. As a lesbian single mom of 3, 2 of whom are on the autism spectrum, finding places that feel like home for me and my children is difficult. Though my children and I struggle to make it into church each week, I know that when we get here, no matter how scruffy their appearance, how rowdy or difficult to interpret their behavior, we are welcome. My children are accepted for who they are in each separate moment, and space is made for them. I know they have a place here, and I know that there is still a place here for me too, and that place is one that will challenge me to grow, if only I say yes. And when I say yes, my efforts will be supported, witnessed, and appreciated. And as my children come around more, they too will also be given opportunities to say yes, and their choice, whether yes or no, will be supported with love. Thank you.
Travis and Trista, 2 of the reasons why I love South Valley. There's this man by the name of J. Golden Kimball. He is my great uncle. As a Mormon leader, he was once sent to visit the Mormon congregations in Cedar City. The son of one of the largest Mormon polygamous families, he was essentially raised by his wild, older cowboy brothers and was partial to a cup of coffee with his breakfast. An indignant Mormon leader in Cedar City once saw Uncle Golden sipping on his coffee and, unable to keep his opinions to himself, approached Uncle Golden and told him that he'd rather commit adultery than drink a cup of coffee. Amused, Uncle Golden looked up at the man and said, "Well, who the hell wouldn't?" Uncle Golden was very popular in his day, and I struggle to put words as to why he was so beloved by the regular folk when he seemed to always be in trouble with his peers. I've come to believe that the evidence of our innocence is in the gentleness of our sins. And Uncle Golden bore his sins and his failings openly. The more trouble he got into with church leaders, the more endearing he became. This last week, I posted a short story on my Facebook wall that I had written about my LDS mission to Alabama. I wrote about how, just being myself, I would often disappoint my leaders, and how towards the end of my 2 years, I had this one experience when my companion and I had came across these 3 young men standing off to the side of the road, and how we jumped off our bikes and helped to work with the boys to push their pickup out of the mud. As we labored to free the truck, the boys expressed concern that we were going to ruin our good clothes. Brushing that aside, the 5 of us talked, and we told each other our stories. Us about being Western Yankee Mormon missionaries, and they about being sons of large local families. When the truck was safe onto the road, we wished them well and got onto our bikes and began to leave. Before we got too far, I heard a young southern drawl cut through the still evening air, saying, "Now there goes 2 good old boys." I was disappointed about the structure of my LDS mission. It was unnecessarily tightly wound around the rules, and my failure to meet expectations outweighed my personal strengths and successes. After I posted my story, one of the missionaries who was also there at the time contacted me and thanked me for writing about it. He said that he shared similar feelings and experiences and felt that he had endured something akin to traumatic stress disorder for years after his mission, and now, as his own son approaches missionary age, he doesn't know if he really wants him to go. As I considered my mission experience, it occurred to me that if I were to invite all of my converts and their descendants, their extended family, and the many others they brought into the LDS faith with them, that number might actually fill this room. And yet, when I came home from Alabama, I was made to feel as if I was a miserable failure for just being myself. As I have transitioned from Mormonism, I have found healing here at UU. At first, I suspected it was just a unique quality of this community. Now, after 6 years, I believe it is a combination of the uniqueness of this community and the principles for which all UU congregations value. Here at UU, I have been welcomed as I mourned aspects of my Mormonism, and I see others who have transitioned from Catholicism, evangelical Christianity, and other traditions, transcending as we all reach to become better people, and to forgive, and to be forgiven, and to let go as we wrestle with the past that got us here. My Mormon son was visiting some weeks back when Reverend Patty spoke about honoring the good in each other's journeys and such inclusive talk goes a long way towards healing as we choose new and different paths from those whom we love. This is so different from my LDS experience. As a Latter-day Saint who was having a faith crisis, I looked for answers to tough questions. In doing so, I had to make peace with difficult questions about human differences. And then my forever task was to navigate a church that was not okay with me making peace with such things. In my Mormonism, our differences tore us apart. At UU, I find differences bring us together. In the great tradition of Mormon testimony, I would like to express my appreciation for the kindness you have all brought into the lives of the Kimballs. And I personally appreciate the inclusiveness and diversity and hard work of the South Valley Board. The Kimballs offer our love and appreciation for the quiet generosity of Lou and Reverend Patty in sharing their journey and their time and talents with us. And whether your future path is here with us at South Valley, or in your home tradition, or somewhere else farther down the road, I hope that you find the peace that you seek.